Globalization as we know it is over. It's over. And you know what? In this case, we actually have Russia to thank. I'm going to explain. Plus, have you seen the president's new cue cards? I mean, it really makes you wonder who's running the operation. Who is he suddenly the press person for? We're going to talk about that and I'm going to show you what they are if you're watching this on video. Plus, Hollywood's reacting to Will Smith, and well, the Academy can't seem to make any kind of decision as to whether he deserves any kind of punishment. This is a bad, lousy look for Hollywood, even for them. Hello, everyone. I am Trish Regan. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. Always good, of course, to have you here. And I want to point out that parts of today's program are sponsored by Legacy Precious Metals. There has never been a better time to invest in precious metals. So make sure you go to legacypminvestments.com today and check out what they have to say, especially for those of you that are interested in investing in gold. As I've been telling you, you should. Okay, let's talk about, first of all, this end of globalization that's happening. Russia killed it. And you know what? Okay, I'll take it. However it had to come, I think this is the wake-up call right now. Ukraine and the vulnerable position Ukraine has been put in is the wake-up call for the rest of the world in terms of why we can't be overly dependent on other nations. You know, you think about all the investment that's happened in recent years. You think about the massive run-up in the Chinese economy that actually puts them basically on par with us in terms of the size of their economy, not per capita, but in terms of the overall size. And you start to say, wait a second, why am I investing in countries or companies located in some of these countries that we as a nation fundamentally don't trust? So whether that's putting money into Chinese corporations or whether it's putting money into Russian corporations. In other words, you run the risk as an investor that all hell could break loose, as it has. I mean, think about Russia. I mean, just 5 weeks ago, it was actually in the B category in terms of its sovereign debt rating. I'm talking about like what Moody's rates them, you know, whether A, B, C, D, or junk. Well, now it's junk. Now it's junk, and now it's been sanctioned and nobody can do business with it. And finally, the Europeans are waking up to, hey, maybe we shouldn't have been relying on Russia for our natural gas. This is the wake-up call for the world. None of us should be relying on countries like Russia for natural gas or anything else. Thank you very much. None of us should be relying on getting our semiconductor chips with all the intelligence that goes into making those semiconductor chips from China. I'm glad to see the Intel's looking to build a facility here in Ohio, a $100 billion investment in Ohio. We need more of that. We need jobs coming back. We need this for our national security. We need this for our own economy. So it may ultimately have been Russia that forced this. Look, I'll take it any way we can because I want the United States of America and I want the Western world to have independence. It's so critical. Globalization has seen its time come to an end. Okay, coming up, we're going to talk about Biden's notes. I mean, this is unbelievable. I got to show you the picture. He's actually got potential questions from reporters on cards. And of course, his answers that he's supposed to give. It's really weird. Anyway, I first want to jump back to gold. As I was talking about earlier, there is so much inflation in the economy right now. As we look at today's market, we can see that gold once again is inching higher. The reality is this, with all this inflation coming our way, I don't think the Fed is going to be able to stop it. I know they say they're going to want to hike interest rates 7 times this year, but you know what? Even doing that is going to be problematic because it's going to be a disaster for the markets and it's going to be, well, challenging for our economy. I mean, this is why I do think that we're running the risk of stagflation. It's a pretty weird day when the yield on the 10-year Treasury is actually less than it is on the 2-year. What this tells you is investors are kind of freaked out over the next couple of years, the next 2 years. I mean, they're more confident in the next 10 years than they are the next 2 years. In fact, that's one of the reasons why so many people look at things like inverted yield curves and they worry about recession. I have a really good explainer on this for people that are on my locals channel. I encourage you to go there, trishregan.locals.com, if you want to learn more. But the bottom line is we're not in a great environment, which is why I keep going back to how you need a diversified portfolio. And part of that portfolio should always include precious metals. Specifically, at least when it comes to me, I really like gold. It's simple, it's safe, it's been around for thousands of years, and I know the guys at Legacy Precious Metals who can help you out. I want to give you their phone number, 1-866-589-0560, 1-866-589-0560. Charles was actually on the show on Monday, the CEO of the company. So you're welcome to go back and listen to Monday's show and hear a little bit more from him. The reality is this: inflation is here. Inflation is not going away. You need to protect yourself, your future, your family, and of course your investments. And one way to do that is, of course, through gold. But let's go back to President Biden because he's hardly the gold standard right now. It's really amazing to me because as president, right, you would think you kind of know your stuff and you know what you're saying and where you're going. And when you get a bunch of reporters throwing questions at you, you know how to manage it. You know how to answer the questions. Well, that is unless you're Joe Biden, who I know, he's up there in age, 79 years old, but I think he's always kind of been a bit spacey. I mean, it's especially bad now. I think he's an old 79. But the guy's never really, let's face it, I mean, all the gaffes over the years, he's never really been that good at articulating his thoughts. And it makes me wonder, are these really his thoughts? I mean, take a look at this. I want you to see it because it's really incredible. He was at a press conference with reporters just the other day, and it really speaks to exactly how challenged he is. There's a note card that says tough Putin Q&A talking points. And it actually lists out the questions and possible answers for him. He says, or one of the possible questions that somebody wrote was, if you weren't advocating for regime change, what did you mean? Can you clarify? And he's got his answer. I was expressing the moral outrage I felt towards the actions of this man. I was not articulating a change in policy. Okay, keep in mind, the other day, right, in Poland, he gives this big speech. I actually liked the speech. I thought it was actually rather honest. And he said, there's no way this guy can stay in power. I think we all know that. We all agree with that. The problem for him was that, he hadn't okayed it with NATO, and he just kind of shoots off his mouth in a way that you're not supposed to, right, as the president of the United States. And so now Russia's like, look, see, they really do want regime change. And so there's this whole cleanup mess going on to the point where he's actually got to put his tough talking points on Q&A cards. It goes on, Macron said he would have used these. I can't quite make out the rest of it because there's a microphone in the way. The UK government suggested it was a problem. Is this now threatening to splinter unity with your NATO allies? And this is, of course, because do not forget, Emmanuel Macron came out and said, no, we're not intent on regime change. And so there's just been a whole disaster, frankly, that has unfolded as a result of Biden's inability to properly articulate himself. And now it's come to the point where he's using talking points written up by who? I'd like to know, right? Who actually creates these cheat cards? Because if it were me, right, I'd write down notes. I'd write down notes on a piece of, this is what I do. I write down my notes. I know what I want to talk about and where I'm going. And one would think a politician would be able to do that himself. But I guess he's relying on Jen Psaki to type these up so neatly for him, or I don't know, Antony Blinken. I mean, it's really pretty amazing. It makes you wonder who's really in charge, right? Who's really controlling everything, because he obviously can't say what he really thinks without igniting a massive challenge. Okay, coming up, I want to talk about Will Smith. Look, I said the other day, I think the thing was sort of staged because I just find it peculiar, really strange that he's able to sit there through the rest of the show without getting arrested by the police. I mean, if I'm Chris Rock, right? I'm like, wait, this guy's still in the front row. If I'm the rest of the audience, I'm uncomfortable with him still being there. Why didn't they arrest him? I mean, does that tell you that they were looking at it as a ratings opportunity? But before we get to that, I'm all for being protected. It's so critical. Every single one of us be protected. But you know what? Who's getting protected? You know what group is getting protected these days? It feels like, certainly when you see some of the changes to the rules regarding the border, criminals, illegal migrants, corrupt politicians, these are the people that get protected. Well, I say it's time to protect our values, our conservative values, our beloved America, by taking a stand here. The Association of Mature American Citizens, known as AMAC, is the conservative voice that's standing up for you, for me, for all of us, and our future in America. AMAC is the conservative voice for mature Americans. They're standing up for causes that they believe in. Freedom-loving Americans share this love for our country, like AMAC. So by joining AMAC, you can do this and combine your efforts with 2.3 million members who share your values. And you know what? You're going to get all kinds of exclusive benefits. Deals on cell phones and their plans, deals on insurance, deals on travel, restaurants, hotels, all that kind of stuff. All you have to do is go to amac.us/Regan, my last name, R-E-G-A-N, amac.us/Regan, R-E-G-A-N, and join or renew today. You know what? It's only going to cost you $16. So this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do to help protect faith, freedom, and family. Join AMAC today by going to amac.us/Regan. Take a stand for America now. It's important stuff. Okay, let's get back to Will Smith, because Amy Schumer's like kind of freaking out. She said she was freaking out that, it was all happening in real time and it was sort of scary and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I just want to know why it is that the guy got to sit there for the rest of the show. I mean, think about that. Now, think about that if it were anything else. I don't know, say like the Miss America pageant, right? And one of the contestants went up and slapped the other. Well, you know what would happen? She'd get hauled off stage, right, by the police. Where were the police? Where were the authorities? Why was he allowed to sit there for the rest of the show? I get it, great for ratings, right? I think they got another 550,000 people tuning in after that because everybody was talking about it on social media, and he was up for Best Actor. And so they kept him there in the seat, but that was just wrong. I mean, what kind of message is that sending? And how do you think that made Chris Rock feel? I mean, let's assume the whole thing was real and not staged. I mean, if I'm Chris Rock, I'm kind of stressed out that the guy is sitting right there in the front seat. And you know what? He ought to be able to handle this. I know, today he came out with some kind of lame apology. I don't really think you can apologize for something like this enough. And he said on Instagram, that he was apologizing, quote, "My behavior at the Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line, I was wrong, I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be." All right, great. So now what? If I were the Academy, I would take away the award, because you know what? That's not behavior that we condone really as a society. I mean, think about it. It's a roast, for goodness sakes. You're up for Best Actor, for goodness sakes. And, he's talking about your wife. You were laughing, incidentally. What was that in terms of mixed signals? Laugh and laugh and laugh. And then all of a sudden you're up there slapping the guy. By the way, who slaps? I mean, I thought it was a punch. It looked like a punch, right? It was kind of like an actor's punch, I guess, because it was a punch that was meant to look like something more than it was. It turned out to just be a slap. It's all really weird, but I think the bottom line in all of it is it was disgusting behavior. None of it should have happened. And the Academy, they don't really stand for anything, because they wouldn't even escort the guy out of the building. They were too interested in, well, they knew, of course, that he was going to get Best Actor, and they wanted him to be there in the seat for ratings. There's something really wrong with all of it. Just a quick reminder, again, I am on Locals. You can see more of me there. There's, a lot of, I post the shows there, I post some personal pictures there, and of course, a lot of the talk that I do about markets, the economy, things like inverted yield curves for all of you who are into that. You can get that there on Locals, trishregan.locals.com, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.